good day, viewers. I am Kamal Haynes. Welcome to another featured interview. Well, today we're here to speak about the Joes Hill Manor Estate housing. And joining me to address the many questions ahead is the Director of the BVI Social Security Board, Mrs. Jeanette Scatliffe-Boynes. We dive into all the details right after a word from our sponsors.
All right, coming back to you. 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, viewers. As mentioned before the break, joining me in studio to speak about the Joes Hill Manor Estate housing is the Director of the BVI Social Security Board, Mrs. Jeanette Scatliffe-Boynes. Welcome, Mrs. Scatliffe-Boynes, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here in studio.
Thank you for having me today.
Okay, I want to dive straight into the questions. As you know, the Joes Hill Manor Estate housing was intended to offer first-time homeowners an affordable option for housing, but residents were astonished following the announcement of the prices for the 52 units. Director, what was the criteria used to determine the prices for the units?
The criteria used, well, of course, it would include the cost of the construction, the cost of the land. The board seek the pricing from the companies like BCQS and REMAX, market suggested rates, and these rates were used to determine the prices of the different units. Of course, there are also ranges, and the ranges were decided based on the position of the homes also.
And for some, in terms of the quote-unquote affordability of the homes, were there any questions prior to that as it relates to, were there any consideration as it relates to, okay, well, if we price it at a given price, maybe that may be out of range for quote-unquote being termed affordable?
I wouldn't say out of range, but of course we looked at the possibilities of the pricing. We look at what the suggested market value was at that time. We also look at it's an investment and what the Social Security Board would get out of it. And I would tell you that in pricing them, we went below the suggested market price that we got from the both companies. So there is some equity in the homes. They are priced lower than the market value. And we felt that it was affordable to those persons who we were, that demographics that we were trying to appease.
And I just want you to give some insight as it relates to the 52 units. Speak about the different aspects of these units in terms of the breakdown, if possible.
Okay, well, we have 1 bedrooms. I think we have about 9 of those. We have standalone houses. We have 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. We have the townhouses that would house 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. We have split levels. And we also have the condos, again, with 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms.
Okay. And in terms of, we are approaching 1 year since the Social Security Board announced that it was in the final stage of the verification process for applicants. How many applicants or applications have been submitted to date? And of that sum, how many have been approved?
Okay, well, in 2017, the board received about 600 applications. Fast forward to 2022, last year, once the homes were completed, the board inherited those 600 persons. For accountability and transparency, we used those persons, those applicants. We sent out an email, we used the online media, etc., to advise those persons that we were moving ahead and to find out if they were still interested, to find out if they met the qualifying conditions at that time. Out of the 600 persons, we had about 400 persons who responded positively. at that time, we decided that we needed to educate those persons about owning a home. So we had a homeowners workshop, and we had about close to 200 persons attending the workshop. And they were still interested. They then went to the bank. Out of those persons, we got no approvals. So we went to the second stage in January of 2023 and opened it up to those persons who did not have an opportunity to apply in 2017. And we had about maybe 40 persons, 40 applicants at that time. And they also went to the bank. And out of that set, we had about 4 persons who had moved on, with the process. We then decided we needed to go to stage 3. That's where we are now. And in that stage, we decided to drop 2 of the qualifying conditions. In the beginning, the qualifying conditions were first-time homeowner, residency in the property, and a BVI lender. We have dropped residency in the property and first-time home ownership. So in order for someone to apply, you need to be a BVI lender at this time.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of that unsuccessful rate, that is extremely high as it relates to the bank declining. Were there any conversations with the bank to find out what these applicants were missing that caused them to be unsuccessful?
Well, all along, we have been in contact with the banks. We've had many meetings. I must say all 4 of the banks were interested. They offered either 100% financing, 95% financing. The incentives were very good, and we expected more persons to be successful. But apparently there were issues with credit, there were issues with down payment, there were issues with the cost being too high for extremely expensive for some persons. So those were the reasons why persons were unable to move forward.
Okay, and earlier you alluded to transparency. I want you to just give us more details as it relates to how the SSB has maintained transparency through the applicant selection process.
Okay, well, the Social Security Board is governed by a board of directors. And for the Joes Hill Manor estate, we had a property subcommittee. And the property subcommittee was made up of some members from the board of directors and also some staff members. We use transparency by, of course, sourcing information. We use companies like BCQS, REMAX, we would use the procurement policy. So we just couldn't go out and choose persons to be a part of the construction phase. We had RFPs. We were able to put out, and got bids on some of the projects that we needed to complete. So the process was always transparent in that we had the subcommittee who took the recommendations to the board of directors, and the board of directors would make the final decision.
And that's as it relates to, as you said, RFPs and stuff, that's like the building process?
As it related to the building process, as it related to, once the building was completed, there were a number of things that needed to be done, landscaping, beautification, electrical security works. So yes.
And what about the application process now?
For the application process, well, you want to know the process or the transparency of the process?
The transparency of the process. So
Okay, so
those
persons would apply, there's application online, so they would apply online. Once the application was received, they would be contacted. Those persons would be given an opportunity to visit the property. At that time, they would choose which unit they were interested in. That unit would be held for them for at least 30 days, giving them an opportunity to have a pre-qualification at the bank. Once that was done, they would be given another month to conclude the process with the bank and, get a mortgage. So that's, the transparency in it was there were steps, and in those steps we had our legal advisor, the banks, and the process of the subcommittee to make a decision as to the way forward.
And in terms of when each applicant was unsuccessful, you guys would have had conversations with those applicants to inform them of how or what they may need to do to better their chances of being approved?
Going back to 2017, if we knew what we know now, it would have been good to have the homeowners workshop at that time. The homeowners workshop gave the applicants an idea as to what to expect, exactly what you need, what the banks require, how to make sure that you ensure that you have a proper credit rating. Those are the things that I think created some issues for the applicants. I think going forward, at where we are now, once a person is unable to move forward, they would let us know. And there is a form that they would fill out stating why they are not moving forward. Either it's too expensive, we did not succeed with the bank, we are not, at that time, we're not first-time homeowners, and they were given another opportunity in January. So those were the processes that we were going through.
Okay. And are there any systems in place? Because I know you just mentioned 2 of the 3 criteria were removed, meaning, as you alluded to earlier, that persons will no longer require, they were no longer required to be first-time homeowners.
Right.
And as you said, they were no longer required to be primary residents of the property. So are there any systems in place to prevent applicants under the new requirements from abusing this initiative?
Well, yes. The property is managed by the Homeowners Association, their covenants and their processes. So at this time, persons who are applying need only to be a BVI lender. And that would mean they would bring their whatever their, whether it's their passport, it would be checked to make sure that they qualify in that aspect. So that's where we are now in terms of moving forward. It is a simpler process. And to date, we've seen about 17 persons who have shown an interest. And we are going to have an aggressive awareness campaign. And we are hoping that, more persons would apply. We have 52 units. So far, we have sold 2 units, and we have 2 more that are closing, shortly. So we are excited about that. And we are hoping that more persons would qualify at the bank and that they would, take up residency there or.
So my next question is for those persons that are wondering, for example.
Those persons?
residents that are wondering, for example, let's say I have the financial backing to buy a property, for example, I go through the bank and get approved, but I don't need the property for myself. My intention is to rent it out. Will that be, is that allowed, basically?
That is allowed. The covenants are now allowing persons to rent the property. Of course, there are the homeowners, the restrictions on home ownership. There are the covenants that would have to be followed by the tenants. But yes, they would be able to use it as an investment with restrictions in terms of, moving forward. In terms of selling the home, there would be some, restrictions on that.
So in other words,
within a reasonable time. In other words, we are going to try to avoid persons just flipping for, their purposes.
So in other words, they may have to own it for, let's say, 5 years or whatever.
Well, they can sell it, but if they own it for 5 years or more, they would get a bigger percentage, a larger percentage on their profit, of course.
And can you outline the various phases of the applicant selection process, specifically, I think you alluded to it earlier, but where you are now, as you said, this new phase, 17 potential prospects as it relates to the...
To date, yes.
To date. Where are you guys going forward from here now as it relates to getting more residents interested in filling up those other units basically that are presently available?
Yes, well, like I said before, we are going to have an aggressive campaign. We are going to overly educate the people of these islands, the importance of, owning a home. Not only for themselves, if they are already the owner of a property, but they'll be given the opportunity to purchase a property, maybe for their child. The concern that we heard before was, what if I want to buy the property for my child who is a student, a college student, who would be returning home shortly and would need, a home. It's an investment for them. It's a force. The initiative is for, to own a house for the first time, to own it for the period where you have equity in the home. And when you're ready to build your dream home, you can sell it, refinance it, and use that money to assist with the purchase of your dream home.
Okay. And in terms of interested applicants, where can they get information from?
The Social Security website, www.vissb.vg. There's a Joe's Hill section on there that gives you all the information, pictures, and the application forms. Of course, they can come into the Social Security Board. We are at Wickham-Ski 1, the Joshua Smith building. We would be happy to have a meeting with persons, and also they can call the office, and we would be happy to give them the information.
Okay, and you spoke about homeowners workshop. When is the next workshop, in terms of those persons who may be interested in coming out to see what's up?
We don't have a date, but again, because we are seeking to educate the public on home ownership, we definitely will be having another workshop shortly, maybe in September, after the festival season and the...
Okay. And any final words for the viewing audience?
Yes, I just want to say to the viewing audience that the Joe's Hill Manor Estate is an investment to the Social Security Board. It's a great investment. Persons can use it if they are not first-time homeowners. The opportunity is there for them to invest in it. It will be managed by a homeowners association. There are covenants. It will be kept well. The landscaping, the beautification, the shared spaces are going to be kept clean, you know, and tidy. And I think that it's a great investment, and persons should call the Social Security Board, come into the Social Security Board, and learn more about how you can, you know, create this investment for yourself or for someone in your family, especially your children. Yes, from now, owning a home is going to be very, very expensive, so why not start now?
Okay, great. I want to thank you for your time, Mrs. Scatliffe-Boynes, and I do hope that the listening or the viewing audience, a number of the questions were answered, considering, you know, there have been a lot of back and forth as it relates to residents having an opinion as it relates to the housing estate. So I do hope that, you know, you shed a light to those persons that were.
Yes, I would hope so. I just want to remind persons that it is a Social Security Board investment, and we are tasked with investing the Social Security Board funds for our contributors and their families now and well into the future. And that's what we are trying to do. We are also trying to create a social economic establishment that would assist the residents of the BVI.
Okay, well, thank you so much again.
You're welcome.
Well, viewers, you heard it from Mrs. Scatliffe-Boynes, Director of the Social Security Board. Hope you enjoyed the content. Until next time, bye-bye.